Good morning, children. Hope you are all well at home. Today, we are going to study a little bit of history in English. We are going to study a lesson on a very important person. Can you guess from the picture? Yes, it's Mahatma Gandhi. So, children, today's lesson is going to teach us how Mahatma Gandhi lived his life and how he fought for our country. Let's begin reading the lesson. A great leader. Mahatma Gandhi was one of the greatest leaders of the world. Other leaders win wars by hurting others and killing them. Mahatma Gandhi did not use any arms and weapons like guns, rifles, or bombs. And yet, he won the war of India's independence. People lovingly called him Bapu or Bapuji, father of the nation. Arms means weapons used to injure and kill people, like guns, rifles, or bombs. And independence means freedom. So, children, this lesson tells us that Mahatma Gandhi was not only a great leader for India, but he was such a great leader known all over the world. Mahatma Gandhi did not use violence. He did not use weapons like guns, rifles, or bombs. He never hurt anyone. Yet, he won the war of India's independence. So, without using any weapons and fighting, still he could help India get freedom from the British rule. Mahatma Gandhi was also called Bapu or Bapuji, and he is also called the father of our nation. So, children, what was Gandhiji lovingly called? Yes, Gandhiji was lovingly called Bapu, Bapuji, father of the nation. Now let's read next. Gandhiji was a man of iron will. If he decided to do something, he did it, no matter how difficult it was. One day, he decided that he would have an early morning prayer every day. From that day onwards, he never missed the prayer. So, children, here it tells us that Gandhiji was a man of iron will. Iron will means to have strong determination and willpower. This tells us that if Gandhiji decided to do something, he did it, no matter how difficult it was. He never went back and thought, let's not do this. It's too tough for me. So he was a person who had strong willpower. As an example, it tells us that one day he decided to get up early morning every day and say his morning prayers. The day he decided that, he began doing it every day. So, children, no matter how tired he was, how sleepy he was, or even if he wasn't well, yet Gandhiji woke up early every morning and always said his morning prayers. So, this shows us that once Gandhiji decided something, he seen to it that he does it daily. So, children, can you give me one example of Gandhiji being a man of iron will? Yes. Once he decided that he would have an early morning prayer every day, and from that day onwards, he never missed the prayer. Let's read next. Gandhiji gave a lot of importance to truth, simplicity, and non violence. That is, not hurting others. Gandhiji's dress was very simple, just a loin cloth, a dhoti worn above the knees, and sometimes a shawl. Could he not afford fancy fashionable clothes? Of course he could. But this simple loin cloth was a deliberate choice. How did he come to make this choice? So, children, here we learn that Gandhiji always followed three things in his life. What are those three things? Truth means to be honest and tell the truth always. Simplicity is to be very simple, and non-violence is to do things peacefully without hurting others. Gandhiji's dress was very simple. He always wore a loin cloth. What is a loin cloth? It is a dhoti worn just above the knees, like you see in the picture. And sometimes he used to wrap a shawl around his shoulders. Every day, no matter whom he met or where he went, this was always his clothing. It is not that Gandhiji couldn't afford to buy new clothes. He very well could. But he decided to be very simple even in his clothing. Next on, we are going to learn why did he make this choice of dressing up so simple. Before that, let me ask you one question. Can you describe Gandhiji's clothing? Yes, Gandhiji's clothing was very simple. Just a loin cloth, a dhoti worn above the knees, and sometimes a shawl. Now children, let us see why did Gandhiji take this decision of dressing up so simple. Once Gandhiji was on a lecture tour in Odisha. Usually, men and women gathered in large numbers to listen to him. In Odisha, however, women were not seen at these public meetings or lectures. On making inquiries, Gandhiji found that the people in that part of the country were so poor that their women folk had not a decent thing to wear. Therefore, they kept away from public functions. Gandhiji was deeply pained to hear this. From that day, he decided to wear the bare minimum of clothes, be it cold or hot. He never changed his simple dress. Decent means proper clothes to wear or to dress properly. Pained means hurt, and bare minimum means the least or less or very little. So, children, once Gandhiji had gone to give a speech in Odisha. Normally, all kinds of people used to come to hear Gandhiji speaking. Men, women, children. But when he went to Odisha to speak, he found out that only men were attending his lecture. So he wanted to know why women had not come to hear him speak. When he inquired with other people, he got to know that the people in the country were so poor that the women did not have enough clothes to wear, and because of that, they could not come out in public. They used to only stay at home. This made Gandhiji very sad, and he thought, if my own country people are so poor and they don't have enough clothes to wear, how can I wear nice clothes? And that was the day he decided to wear simple clothes all his life. So, no matter how the climate was, whether it was hot, cold, or rainy season, he never changed his clothing. He always remained in his simple clothes, wearing a dhoti and a shawl. So, children, here you have learnt why Gandhiji always wore a dhoti and a shawl and never dressed up very nicely. Once he had gone to England to attend a very important conference. King George of England gave a reception to the participants of the conference at his palace. People received by the king have to dress up in a certain way. At that time, England ruled over India. People in England wanted to know if Gandhiji would change the style of his dress to see the king. Gandhiji made it very clear that he would be dressed in his usual way, even when visiting the King of England. He would wear the dress of the people whom he represented. Gandhiji was not bothered by what style of dress the British approved of, so long as the poor people in his country did not have enough clothes to wear. Conference is a meeting conducted to discuss important matters. Participants are the people who are attending the meeting. Bothered means worried. So, children, once there was a conference or a meeting that was held in England. People from all over the world were invited to attend this conference. At that time, the King of England was called King George. After the meeting, King George invited all the people of the conference to his palace for a small dinner. When you go to meet the king, you have to dress up very formally in a particular way. People were very curious to know if Gandhiji too would dress up nicely since he had to go to the palace to meet the king. But Gandhiji made it very clear that even though he has to meet the king, he is not going to change his dressing style. He would still wear his simple clothes because his people in the country were poor and could not afford buying clothes. So even though he went to the palace, he wore his same dhoti and shawl. So children, this shows us that Gandhiji was a man with iron will. Once he decided to wear simple clothes, no matter where he went or whom he met, he never changed his clothing as per the occasion. Can you tell me, did Gandhiji dress up well to meet the King of England, and why? Did he dress up well, children? No. Gandhiji did not dress up well to meet the King of England. And why, children? Because he wanted to wear the dress of the people of his country whom he represented. Now let's read next. Finally, the king had to welcome at his reception this great man dressed in a simple loin cloth and a shawl. The king himself was dressed quite extravagantly. Gandhiji was asked whether he had enough clothes on for meeting the king. He replied that the king had enough clothes on for both of them. Millions of poor people in India felt happy that Mahatma Gandhi dressed like them. Extravagantly means in a way that costs a lot of money. That means when a person spends a lot of money on his clothing and dresses up too much. So children, as you can see in the picture, you can see the King of England dressed up very well. And you can see Gandhiji in his simple clothing of dhoti and a shawl. But still, the king welcomed Gandhiji dressed up very simply. When people asked Gandhiji if he had worn enough clothes for meeting the king, Gandhiji replied that the king had worn enough clothes for both of them. That means the king had worn too much on him. Millions of people in India were so happy that even though Gandhiji went to meet the King of England, yet he never changed himself. He still showed that he is a part of the people of India. So children, what did Gandhiji answer when asked about his clothing for meeting the king? Gandhiji answered that the king had enough of clothes on for both of them. Let's read this, children. Although Mahatma Gandhi did not use any destructive weapons. He had millions of staunch followers. Gandhiji showed all the suppressed people in the world the new path of Satyagraha. He is remembered for his greatness not only in India but in all parts of the world. Destructive means causing damage. Staunch followers means loyal followers who always followed him. Suppressed people means people who are not allowed to live freely and grow. So children, though Gandhiji never used any weapons like guns, bombs, rifles, yet millions of people used to follow him, and they followed his principles of honesty, simplicity, and non-violence. He showed all the people in the world the new way of Satyagraha, where you march forward without being violent. Because of this reason of non-violence, Gandhiji is not only known in India but in all parts of the world. He is a very respected person worldwide. So children, this was a short lesson on Mahatma Gandhi for us to know what a great person he was and how he sacrificed for our country. Now let's answer some questions. Write the meaning of the following with the help of the passage. So you have to write down what these words mean when you read the passage. The first word is a man of iron will. What does that mean, children? A man with strong willpower and determination. Second word is loincloth. Loincloth means dhoti worn above the knees. Third word is non-violence. Non-violence means use of peaceful ways. In the second question, you have to answer all the questions with a yes or a no. So let's read the questions. First, did Gandhiji use any weapons? No. Did Gandhiji ever miss his prayers? No. Could Gandhiji afford fancy clothes? Yes. Did the king receive Gandhiji at his palace? Yes. Did Gandhiji change his style of dress for the reception? No. Very good, children. Third question says, find and copy any two sentences containing not from the passage. So if you look into the lesson and search, these are the two sentences which have not in them. The first sentence is, in Odisha, however, women were not seen at these public meetings or lectures. In the second sentence, although Mahatma Gandhi did not use any destructive weapons, he had millions of staunch followers. So as you can see, both these sentences have the word not. Now children, for your home assignment, with the help of your parents, you have to gather some information about any great man or woman of your country. Once you search the information on any great person, you have to prepare a short speech about any one of them and write that speech in your notebook. Here are two examples of two great people, one a man and the other a lady. We have Lokmanya Tilak and Savitribai Phule, both great world leaders, and both of them have fought for our country. So children, you can see how there is a short speech written on Lokmanya Tilak and a short speech written on Savitribai Phule. You can read this at home, and in the same way, you have to search on any other great person who has fought for our country India and write down a small speech in your notebook. This is your home assignment. That's all in today's lesson, children. I hope you learned a lot about one of our greatest leaders of our country, Mahatma Gandhi. Also, do study about any other leader who has fought for our country and do your home activity. Thank you, children. Have a lovely day.